Hey there! Have you ever felt like your heart is an old weathered barn, standing tall through decades of storms, but now creaking under the weight of neglect? You've spent a lifetime building a shelter of love for your children, those sleepless nights rocking a feverish baby at 2 a.m., the endless drives across town for soccer practice in your rusty old Chevy, the way you'd scrimp on your own needs just to buy them that $50 pair of sneakers for school. You poured every ounce of your soul into their happiness, measuring your worth in their smiles. And yet today, what do you get in return? A cold silence, a silence that stings sharper than a winter wind, cutting through the plains of Oklahoma. You sit by the phone, waiting for a call that never comes. You check the mailbox, hoping for a card on Mother's Day or Father's Day, only to find bills and junk flyers. Maybe you've even driven 30 miles just to drop off a homemade apple pie, your grandmother's recipe with 2 cups of sugar and a pinch of nostalgia, only to be met with a rushed, "Thanks, gotta go." That ache in your chest, it's not just age creeping in. It's the pain of feeling invisible, of wondering if all those years of sacrifice, all those 60-hour work weeks, meant nothing to the ones you love most. But listen close, I see you. I feel that quiet hurt, that heavy shadow draped over your spirit like a worn-out quilt. You're not alone in this struggle. Millions of seniors across America, from the bustling streets of Chicago to the quiet hills of Tennessee, carry this same burden. They too have watched their children grow distant, their gratitude replaced by indifference, their respect swapped for disregard. It's a wound deeper than any cut, one that festers in the stillness of an empty house where laughter once echoed off the walls. I know you've asked yourself why. Why, after giving up your dreams, maybe that trip to the Grand Canyon you saved $500 for but never took, do they turn away? Why, after teaching them to ride a bike on a cracked sidewalk in a small-town neighborhood, do they forget the hands that steadied them? It's a question that haunts your quiet evenings as you sip coffee from a chipped mug, staring out at a backyard that once hosted 4th of July barbecues with 10 pounds of ribs on the grill. The answer isn't simple, but it starts with understanding a truth many of us dodge. The love we gave wasn't a contract. It wasn't a debt to be repaid in phone calls or visits. And yet, knowing this doesn't ease the sting, does it? Here's the thing though. What if I told you there's a way out of this fog? A path to reclaim the peace you've earned after 60, 70, or even 80 years of battling life's storms. Imagine waking up one morning, the weight lifted, your heart no longer tethered to their silence. Picture yourself smiling again, not because they called, but because you found a joy that doesn't depend on their approval. That's not a pipe dream. It's a promise I'm making to you right now, one I've seen come true for countless others just like you, from retirees in Florida's sunny condos to grandparents in Oregon's rainy valleys. In this video, we're going to walk that path together. I'm here to share 7 powerful lessons, hard-earned wisdom that will help you untangle the knots of hurt and rediscover the lightness you deserve. These aren't just empty words, they're tools, forged from real stories of struggle and triumph, from folks who've sat in the same recliner you're in now, feeling the same ache. We'll dive into why your child's ingratitude cuts so deep, why their disrespect feels like a slap across the face, and most importantly, how to heal without waiting for their apology. So stick with me. Let's take the first step right now, starting with a truth that might sting but will set you free. The expectations you've carried for decades are a chain around your soul. They've locked you in a prison of hope, waiting for a key that may never come. In the next part, we'll explore how to break those chains, to let go without losing love, and to find a strength you didn't know you had. Are you ready to open that door? Let's do this together. If your heart felt heavy in that opening, know that we're starting a journey to lighten that load right now. Let's dive into the first powerful lesson. Letting go of expectations. Think of expectations as an old, rusty anchor you've been dragging behind you for miles across the rugged trails of life. It's been holding you down, tethering you to a hope that your children will one day turn around and give you the gratitude or respect you've earned after decades of sacrifice. But what if that anchor isn't just slowing you down, it's sinking you? Picture this. You've spent 40 years building a life for your kids. Maybe you work double shifts at a factory in Detroit, coming home with grease on your hands and $200 less in your pocket each week just to pay for their braces or that $1,500 college application fee. You expected that one day they'd look you in the eye and say, "Thanks, Mom," or "I appreciate you, Dad." Maybe you dreamed of Sunday dinners at your table, with 5 pounds of roast beef sizzling in the oven, laughter filling your small dining room in a quiet Ohio suburb. But instead, the chair across from you stays empty. The phone doesn't ring, and each missed call, each unreturned text, feels like a brick added to a wall between you and the child you raised. I want to share a story about Maria, a sweet 72-year-old grandmother from Florida. Maria spent her life as a single mom, stitching together a living as a seamstress, often working until midnight to afford her son's $300 school uniforms. She expected that when he grew up, he'd be her rock stopping by her little condo near Miami Beach for coffee, or at least calling on her birthday. But as the years passed, those visits dried up like a desert creek. Calls turned into quick texts, if they came at all. Maria felt her heart shrink with every unanswered "How are you?" she sent. She was trapped in a cage of her own making, waiting for a key she didn't hold. Here's the hard truth, and I say this with love. Those expectations are not just wishes, they're chains. They bind your happiness to someone else's actions, someone who may never turn the lock. According to experts, holding on to unrealistic expectations can strain relationships and lead to burnout for caregivers like you. Maria learned this the hard way, but she also found a way out. One day, while flipping through her worn Bible at her kitchen table, she stumbled on a verse from Philippians 4:7 about a peace that surpasses understanding. It hit her like a sunrise after a long, dark night. She realized she didn't need her son's visits to feel whole. She could choose her own peace. So how did Maria break free? She stopped waiting. She joined a local seniors walking group at a park just 2 miles from her home, meeting friends who laughed with her over $2 coffee at a nearby diner. She started painting again, something she hadn't done since her 20s, filling her walls with bright canvases instead of empty hopes. Letting go didn't mean she stopped loving her son. It meant she stopped letting his absence define her worth. As one resource suggests, releasing expectations fosters emotional independence, allowing you to manage your own well-being. Now I'm turning to you. What expectations are you clinging to? Are you waiting for a thank you that's been 10 years overdue? Are you hoping for a visit that hasn't happened since last Christmas? Imagine cutting that rusty anchor loose. Picture yourself walking lighter, not because they've changed, but because you've chosen to stop carrying the weight of their choices. You deserve that freedom. Experts emphasize that setting boundaries around expectations prevents resentment and encourages healthier coping mechanisms. Here's your first step. Write down one expectation you've held on to. Maybe it's expecting a weekly call or a holiday visit to your home in Texas, where you've got 3 acres of land waiting for grandkids to run on. Then tell yourself, "I release this. My joy doesn't depend on it." Say it out loud if you can. Feel that shift inside you. It's not giving up. It's giving yourself permission to live. As we move forward, hold on to this newfound lightness. In the next lesson, we'll dig deeper into another weight you might not even realize you're carrying, the idea of emotional debt. Think of it as an invisible ledger you've kept, tallying what your child owes you for all you've done. We'll explore how to tear up that ledger and rewrite your story with freedom. Are you ready to let go of more? If you felt a shift after letting go of expectations in our last lesson, hold on to that lightness because we're about to tackle another hidden weight, emotional debt. Think of it as an invisible ledger you've been keeping for decades, tucked away in the dusty attic of your heart. Every sacrifice, every late night worry, every dollar spent, it's all been tallied up as something your child owes you. Maybe not in cash, but in gratitude, in time, in respect. But what if I told you this ledger isn't just a record? It's a chain, binding you to a debt that may never be repaid. Let's paint a picture. You've given everything to your kids over the years. Maybe you skipped that $1,000 vacation to the Smoky Mountains to pay for their summer camp in upstate New York, driving 500 miles round trip to drop them off with a packed lunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You stayed up until 3 a.m. sewing costumes for their school play. your fingers aching from 10 yards of cheap fabric. You expected that in return, they'd show up, maybe not with a grand gesture, but with a simple call on Thanksgiving, or a visit to your little ranch-style home in Arizona, where you've got 2 acres of desert land waiting for grandkids to explore. But instead, there's nothing. No call, no visit. And each empty holiday feels like a line scratched deeper into that ledger, a debt unpaid. I want to tell you about Rosa, a 68-year-old widow from Texas. Rosa raised her daughter alone after her husband passed, working 2 jobs days at a diner for $2.13 an hour plus tips. Nights cleaning offices to keep food on the table. She tallied every sacrifice in her mind. The $400 she scraped together for a used bike at Christmas, the 12-hour shifts that left her back aching just to afford $200 school supplies. She thought her daughter owed her something for it all, a weekly chat, a thanks mom on Mother's Day. But as the years rolled on, those gestures faded. Every missed call cracked Rosa's heart a little more, like a dry riverbed splitting under the Texas sun. She wasn't just hurt, she was trapped by the weight of that emotional debt. Here's the truth, spoken with care. Love isn't a transaction. When you keep score, every act of care becomes a bill, and every missed payment turns into resentment. Research shows that unresolved emotions like guilt or hurt confuse parents to unhealthy dynamics with adult children, often leading to actions that undermine independence. Rosa felt this trap. She'd give in to requests for help lending $100 here, driving 50 miles there, not out of pure love, but to ease her own unspoken tally of what's owed. It didn't heal the rift, it widened it, turning her love into a burden. So how do we tear up this ledger? Rosa found her way one quiet evening, sitting on her porch with a $1.50 iced tea from the local gas station. She took a deep breath and asked herself, what if I loved without expecting a receipt? She started small, deciding not to count the missed calls, not to measure her worth by her daughter's actions. As experts suggest, letting go emotionally means resolving feelings like resentment to foster healthier relationships. Rosa began to see her past sacrifices as gifts, not loans, gifts given freely from a heart that didn't need repayment. Now let's turn to you. What's in your ledger? Are you counting the times you paid for their $500 car repair, expecting a thank you that never came? Are you tallying the 20 years of 60-hour work weeks in a Chicago factory, waiting for a visit that hasn't happened? Imagine setting that ledger on fire. Watch it burn in your mind's eye, the ashes scattering in the wind. Feel the freedom of loving without strings. You're not erasing the past. You're rewriting how it controls your present. Here's your step for today. Think of one debt you've held on to. Maybe it's expecting a birthday card after you sent $50 every year for 30 years. Whisper to yourself, I release this. My love doesn't need to be repaid. Say it until you feel the weight lift. Studies indicate that releasing such emotional burdens can improve personal well-being by reducing stress. As we carry this freedom forward, let's prepare for the next lesson. We've let go of expectations and emotional debt, but there's another layer to uncover. Setting boundaries. Think of it as building a fence around your heart, not to keep love out, but to protect your peace. In the next part, we'll explore how to say no without guilt and yes on your terms. Are you ready to guard your serenity? We've already taken powerful steps together, letting go of expectations and tearing up that emotional debt ledger. Now let's build on that freedom with our third lesson, setting boundaries. Think of boundaries as a sturdy wooden fence around your heart's garden. It's not there to block out love or keep your children at a distance. It's there to protect your peace, to guard the tender blooms of your well-being from being trampled by disrespect or ingratitude. Without this fence, you're left wide open, vulnerable to every harsh word or cold shoulder. Are you ready to build that protection? Let's paint a familiar picture. You've always been the one your kids could count on, no matter the hour or the cost. Maybe you've driven 100 miles across state lines in a snowstorm just to help with a $200 car repair in Minnesota, or stayed up past midnight baking 3 dozen cookies for a last-minute school event in your small Georgia town. You've said yes so often that it's become your default. even when it meant skipping your own $10 bingo night with friends at the local community center. But over time, those yeses have come at a price. Your child might take your availability for granted, expecting you to drop everything without a second thought. And when you hesitate, even for a moment, the guilt creeps in like a fog over the Mississippi River, whispering that you're failing as a parent. I want to share the story of Carmen, a 70-year-old retiree from California. Carmen was the ultimate yes person. Need a ride at 2 a.m. from a party 30 miles away in Los Angeles traffic? She was already grabbing her keys. Need $500 to cover rent after a job loss? She'd dip into her fixed income, even if it meant cutting back on her $50 monthly grocery budget. But the more she gave, the less she received in return, not even a thank you most days. Her son began to treat her kindness as a given, not a gift. Carmen felt drained, like a well run dry in the scorching California desert, her own needs buried under the weight of his demands. She didn't just lose time or money, she lost herself. Here's the gentle truth. Love without limits can turn into resentment. Boundaries aren't about pushing your child away. They're about preserving the love you have so it doesn't sour into bitterness. Research highlights that setting boundaries helps distinguish personal responsibilities and prevents burnout, especially in caregiving roles like parenting. Carmen learned this when a friend at her church group shared a simple phrase, "I love helping you, but I need to take care of myself too." It was a revelation, like finding a hidden path through a tangled forest. She started saying no when she needed rest, and yes only when it felt right for her spirit. She wasn't closing a door, she was installing a gate, one she controlled. Now let's turn to you. Where have you said yes when your heart screamed no? Are you still the go-to for every $100 loan or 50-mile errand, even when your arthritis flares up after driving? Imagine that sturdy fence around your garden. Picture yourself standing at the gate, deciding who enters and on what terms. You're not being selfish, you're being wise. As experts suggest, using clear words like no defines your personal space and communicates your limits, a principle rooted in self-control. Boundaries protect your emotional health, much like a helmet protects a rider on a 20-mile bike trail. Here's your step for today. Think of one area where you've overextended yourself. Maybe it's always babysitting the grandkids for 10 hours straight without a break, even when your back aches. Practice saying, "I love spending time with them, but I can only do 4 hours today." Say it in front of a mirror if you need to build courage. Feel the power in those words. Studies show that setting such limits can reduce stress and improve relationship dynamics by fostering mutual respect. I know this might feel uncomfortable at first. You might worry they'll pull away further. But remember, a fence doesn't block connection, it defines it. As one resource notes, role modeling boundaries teaches others how to respect your space, creating healthier interactions. You're showing your child that love includes respect for yourself as much as for them. As we carry this strength forward, let's prepare for the next lesson. We've built a fence to guard our peace, but there's another piece to this puzzle: finding validation from within. Think of it as planting seeds of self-worth in your garden, seeds that don't need anyone else's water to grow. In the next part, we'll explore how to stop waiting for their praise and start celebrating your own value. We've walked a powerful path together so far, letting go of expectations, tearing up the ledger of emotional debt, and building a sturdy fence of boundaries around our hearts. Now let's nurture something beautiful within that protected space with our fourth lesson: finding inner recognition. Think of this as planting a resilient oak tree in the garden of your soul. This tree doesn't need anyone else's sunlight or water to grow tall and strong. It draws strength from deep within, rooted in the truth of your own worth. Are you ready to stop waiting for their praise and start seeing your value through your own eyes? Let's paint a picture that might hit close to home. For years, you've poured your heart into your children, measuring your worth by their smiles or their words. Maybe you saved $2,000 over a decade, penny by penny, to buy them a used car for their 16th birthday in a small Nebraska town, driving 200 miles to pick it up. Or perhaps you spent countless evenings helping with homework at a wobbly kitchen table in a Brooklyn apartment, sacrificing your own $15 movie night to be there. You waited for a thank you, a nod of appreciation, or even a quick hug on Mother's Day. But often those moments never came. The silence grew, and with it, a gnawing doubt. Was it all for nothing? Did they even notice the 50-hour work weeks or the 3 a.m. wake-ups when they were sick? I want to share the story of Teresa, a 74-year-old grandmother from North Carolina. Teresa raised 3 kids on her own after her husband left, working as a school cafeteria cook for $8 an hour to keep a roof over their heads in a modest trailer park. She baked 5 dozen cupcakes for every school event, spent $300 on secondhand prom dresses, and sat through endless rainy soccer games on a 10-acre field just to cheer them on. She longed for a simple acknowledgement, a card, a call, a "Mom, I see what you did." But year after year, her efforts went unnoticed. Teresa felt invisible, like a faded photograph tucked away in a dusty drawer, her sacrifices erased by time. Her heart ached not just for gratitude, but for proof that her life mattered. Here's the gentle truth: you can't force someone to see your worth, but you can choose to see it yourself. Inner recognition is about looking in the mirror and saying, "I know who I am. What I've done is enough." It's a shift that doesn't depend on their words or actions. As shared in the video inspiration, when you stop reaching outward for validation, something transforms you. Walk lighter. You speak freer. Teresa discovered this one quiet Sunday, sitting in her rocking chair with a worn Bible on her lap. A verse from Psalm 139 reminded her that she was fearfully and wonderfully made. It was like a light flickering on in a dark room. She didn't need her kids' praise to prove her value. Her life, her love, already spoke volumes. So how do we plant this oak of inner recognition? Teresa started by writing down 3 things she was proud of. Small victories, like the time she worked overtime to afford $100 Christmas gifts, or the 20 years she never missed a parent-teacher conference. She read them aloud, letting the words sink in. Experts suggest that self-affirmation can rebuild self-esteem, especially for those feeling unappreciated. She stopped waiting for her kids to notice and started noticing herself. And slowly, something shifted. Her shoulders straightened. Her smile returned. Sometimes her children even sensed the change. A softer tone on the phone, a lingering, "How are you, Mom?" Not forced, but real. Now let's turn to you. What have you done that deserves your own applause? Are you overlooking the $500 you saved for their graduation trip? Or the 30-mile drives to every Little League game? Imagine standing under that oak tree in your soul, its branches wide with the strength of your story. You don't need their thank you to know you're enough. Your life already proves it. Research shows that internal validation reduces emotional dependency, fostering resilience. Here's your step for today. Grab a pen and write down one thing you're proud of. Maybe it's the 40 years you spent building a home in Texas, or the 5-gallon buckets of soup you made for family gatherings. Read it to yourself. Say, "I see you. I'm proud of you." Feel that truth settle in your chest. It's not about arrogance. It's about healing. As we nurture this inner strength, let's prepare for the next lesson. We've planted the seed of self-worth, but now it's time to water it with emotional independence. Think of it as learning to stand tall, even when the winds of their silence blow hard. We've built a strong foundation together, letting go of expectations, releasing emotional debt, setting boundaries, and planting the seed of inner recognition. Now let's grow even stronger with 2 intertwined lessons: emotional independence and acceptance. Picture your heart as a mighty lighthouse on a rocky New England shore, standing firm against crashing waves of disappointment or silence from your children. Emotional independence is the light within, guiding you through storms without needing their validation. Acceptance is the solid rock beneath, grounding you in the reality that you can't control their actions, only your own peace. Are you ready to shine and stand unshakable? Let's start with emotional independence. Imagine your happiness as a fragile kite, for years tethered to your child's moods or responses. Maybe you've waited for a call after driving 300 miles to help them move into a new apartment in Colorado, spending $500 on gas and meals. Or you felt your spirit dip when they skipped your 75th birthday party. Despite the 5 pounds of barbecue ribs you slow-cooked for the backyard celebration in Missouri. Every missed moment sends your kite spiraling down, crashing with your mood. But what if you held the string yourself? Emotional independence means managing your emotions without relying on their approval or attention, as experts define it, a key to resilience and self-reliance. I want to share the story of Peter, a 71-year-old widower from Michigan. Peter spent decades as a truck driver, logging 60-hour weeks to afford $1,000 tuition payments for his daughter's community college. He tied his joy to her responses, checking his phone every hour for a text after sending $100 for her groceries. When replies didn't come, his heart sank like a stone in Lake Superior. But one day, while sipping $2 coffee at a local diner, Peter decided to cut that tether. He started focusing on his own hobbies, woodworking in his 500-square-foot garage, and stopped letting her silence dictate his day. Research shows that self-reliance and emotional regulation fosters well-being and reduces dependency. Peter's lighthouse began to shine from within. Now let's weave in acceptance, the rock beneath that lighthouse. Acceptance means embracing the truth. You can't control how your child acts or feels, no matter how much you've given. Maybe you've hoped for a thank you after 30 years of $200 Christmas gifts, or a visit to your 3-acre farm in Kentucky. But their choices are theirs alone. Fighting this reality is like battling the tide. It only exhausts you. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's finding peace in what is, not what you wish. Studies highlight that emotional support and acceptance improve seniors' well-being by balancing emotions. Peter learned this too. He stopped wrestling with why his daughter didn't call. Instead, he told himself, "I've done my part. My love stands, even if her actions don't." He found solace in a Bible verse from Isaiah 26:3 about perfect peace, feeling it like a calm after a storm. He couldn't change her, but he could change how he reacted. As resources suggest, managing expectations and accepting limitations can reduce stress in relationships with aging loved ones. Peter's rock of acceptance held firm, letting him focus on his own joy, whether joining a senior's card game 10 miles away or tending his small garden. Let's turn to you. Where is your happiness tethered? Are you waiting for a nod of gratitude after paying $300 for their car insurance, feeling crushed when it doesn't come? Imagine cutting that kite string. Picture your lighthouse glowing, powered by your own strength. And what can't you accept? Their distance after 20 years of 40-hour work weeks to support them? See yourself on that rock, steady as the waves crash. You don't need to fight their choices. You need to anchor your peace. Research affirms that emotional independence boosts resilience, helping seniors navigate challenges. Here's your step for today. Reflect on one way you've tied your mood to their actions, maybe a missed holiday visit to your Florida condo. Say aloud, "My happiness is mine." I don't need their response to feel whole. Then accept one thing you can't change, perhaps their lack of calls. Whisper, "I release this battle. I choose peace." Feel the shift. Experts note that self-acceptance fosters a positive outlook, vital for senior mental health. As we solidify this inner strength, let's prepare for the final lessons. We've lit our lighthouse and grounded ourselves in acceptance, but there's one more choice to make: serenity over resentment. Think of it as stepping into a calm harbor after a long, rough sea journey. We've journeyed far together through 6 transformative lessons: releasing expectations, shedding emotional debt, setting boundaries, finding inner recognition, and embracing emotional independence and acceptance. Now, as we stand at the final milestone, let's embrace the 7th and most powerful lesson: choosing serenity over resentment. Picture your heart as a quiet harbor on the serene shores of Maine, a safe haven after decades of stormy seas, stirred by your child's ingratitude or disrespect. Serenity isn't just a fleeting calm, it's a deliberate choice to anchor yourself in peace, no matter the waves crashing around you. Are you ready to step into this harbor? Let's reflect on the path we've walked. You've poured a lifetime into your children, perhaps working 50-hour weeks at a steel mill in Pittsburgh to save $3,000 for their first car, or baking 4 dozen pies for fundraisers in a tiny Iowa kitchen to fund their $500 school trips. You've endured sleepless nights driving 100 miles to bail them out of trouble, expecting in return a simple nod of gratitude or a visit to your 2-acre homestead in Oklahoma. But often, those hopes were met with silence, sharp words, or indifference. That pain festers, turning into resentment, a bitter shield you've held up to guard against more hurt. But what if that shield is heavier than the pain itself? Resentment poisons your spirit, keeping you tethered to a battle you can't win. I want to share a final insight inspired by countless stories like yours. Choosing serenity doesn't mean ignoring the hurt or pretending their actions don't sting. It means deciding, I matter too much to let this bitterness define me. It's recognizing, as we've learned from timeless wisdom, that their choices are not a reflection of your worth. Serenity is a gift you give yourself, a release from the tug-of-war of anger and disappointment. As one resource suggests, it's about navigating challenges with grace, not eliminating them, fostering a calm that stabilizes your soul even amidst family storms. It's saying, I've done enough. Now I choose peace. Think of a moment when resentment gripped you tight. Maybe it was last Thanksgiving, when you set a table for 6 with 10 pounds of turkey in your Tennessee home, only to eat alone because they didn't show. The anger burned, didn't it? But imagine setting that burden down. Picture yourself walking along that quiet harbor shore, the weight of grudges dissolving like mist over a lake at dawn. Serenity allows you to breathe deeper, to smile not because they've changed, but because you've chosen to let go. Research shows that cultivating such peace reduces stress and enhances emotional well-being, especially for seniors navigating complex family dynamics. Now let's make this choice real. What resentment are you holding on to? Is it the memory of a $200 loan they never repaid? Or the 20 years of missed Mother's Day calls? Visualize placing that bitterness into a small boat and pushing it out to sea. Watch it drift away. Say to yourself, I choose serenity. My peace is mine. Feel the lightness settle in. As experts note, letting go of negative emotions through intentional choices can prevent burnout and foster healthier relationships. This isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength, the kind that holds your hand when no one else does. As we close this journey, I want to thank you for walking with me through these 7 lessons. You've shown courage in facing these truths, in seeking peace not through your child's actions, but within your own heart. I'm here to remind you, you've done enough. You deserve days filled with softness, with the gentle warmth of a life unburdened by their silence. Whether you're in a bustling city like Chicago or a quiet corner of Montana, know that your story matters and your healing is worth every step. Here's my final invitation. Let's keep this conversation alive. If these lessons touched you, share your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated most? Was it releasing expectations or choosing serenity today? Your words might inspire another senior feeling alone in this struggle. Hit that like button if this video spoke to your heart, and subscribe to join our community for more insights on finding peace in later life. Together, we can build a bridge to healing, as one guide encourages through shared experiences. One last thought before we part. Today, choose serenity. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Step into that quiet harbor. Let the storms of resentment fade behind you. You're not just a parent, you're a person worthy of peace. May your days ahead be gentle and bright. I'll see you in the next video, my friends. Until then, hold on to your serenity.